technical session that's on rethinking digital solutions for the Indian tooling sector. For this, may I please invite Mr. Sachin Sanghi, Principal Architect, Manufacturing, Google. Ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really thankful to Nishant and Mr. Bhaskar for inviting Google Cloud to this amazing gathering of the smartest people in the tooling industry. And Yamamoto-san really gave a good presentation. It certainly makes me believe that we are in some of the best times the human history has seen. There will be a lot of opportunities for us to dominate our markets, but these opportunities will not be like they have been in the past. They will be a lot different. So I will be covering a topic called on rethinking digital transformation for the Indian tooling sector. I'm going to cover 4 key points here today. Data, which is the raw material for digitalization, and then how do we map data with the value chain of a tooling business. Then I will get into the behaviors, the capabilities and enablers that influence digital adoption. And then I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, what is Google Cloud doing in manufacturing? So I will talk a little bit about Google Cloud for small and medium businesses, right? So we've heard this very often that data is the new oil, right? And with oil, everyone thinks of money. So is data really the new oil? Because oil has certain characteristics. A, it is very difficult to extract from the ground. B, it causes a lot of pollution. And every time you reuse oil, the harm that it brings to the environment keeps increasing. We may need to think of data in a little bit different manner. Maybe we need to think, maybe instead of looking at oil, let's look at soil. Soil is available in abundance. Soil actually helps the environment. And we all know that if you reuse soil for different crops, it actually enriches its composition. So let's think of data as the new soil. We need to cultivate data. And to me, data behaves a lot like soil, because you collect it once and then you reuse it and you reuse it, and you can keep getting more and more value coming out of data. So talking about data as the raw material for digitalization, let's take a look at maybe your businesses differ than what is shown here, but largely you may be following a certain process when it comes to your end-to-end value chain. So it starts with doing quotation, doing pre-sales, getting an engineering bill of material out, doing project planning, producing, and then after service. That's the rethinking I would like you to do. Now, all these processes that you're doing, how much data are you generating? It's getting generated at every step. What is our vision for transformation? Google Cloud's vision is all of these is related to data at each stage. When you quote, when you estimate, when you create your bill of material, when you create your project plan, you are already creating data. All this data today can be brought together into one common data set, right? And having this common data set, today cloud is the best option for you to go. Of course, I will tell you to put it on Google Cloud, but really it is cloud. In fact, it's even more useful for companies who are from the tooling sector. You have the advantage of not having legacy systems. And I'll talk a little bit later about what kind of hardware or infrastructure is required for data. And there I see the tooling sector having actually an advantage than the type of customers that you support. Because your customers don't have a lot of legacy systems which do not allow them to take advantage of the cloud solutions that have come today. So there are certain reports that will tell you that what used to take maybe $500,000 just a decade and a half ago for a startup, let's say you're talking about putting a new business together, what would take about $500,000 earlier, now you can do it in $50,000. The reason you can do a startup in $50,000 is actually cloud computing. So I would like you to think about your processes, where your data resides, and what is the merit in putting all of this data together, and what is the value that you can extract if you had the ability to combine all of this data together, right? So what are a couple of the use cases? In any manufacturing industry, you cannot talk about digitalization without talking about Industry 4.0 use cases. So there are several Industry 4.0 use cases, and Google Cloud is in fact at front and center and in the forefront of doing a couple of things. Google as a company, of course, is a data company. And what we have done for Industry 4.0 is we've gone ahead and made partnerships with certain providers that allow us to read any kind of data. So on your factories, you may have 30-year-old machines. You would have proprietary hardware, firmware, old protocols, new protocols, some that run on copper networks, some that run on fiber optics. The point is the entire, the plethora of different protocols that you have today, as Google Cloud, we have the ability to go and read any kind of factory data. And that's where the toughest part of Industry 4.0 actually lies in connecting the operating system, the operational technology, OT, with IT. So at Google Cloud, we have very advanced use cases that are already developed, and they would range from connected machines to OEE monitoring for track and trace, safety, visual inspection, predictive maintenance, applying artificial intelligence, applying machine learning, and now the buzzword, thanks to the launch of ChatGPT, is generative AI. So we are doing a lot of work in terms of generative AI as well for the manufacturing industry. Yeah. And it doesn't stop there. I would like you to think about that the data doesn't stop there. Who would have thought 2 decades ago, many of the products that we use as a service, we will be actually using it as a service. I saw almost 3 years ago, during COVID times, I came across an advertisement in the newspaper where the Tata Nexon was being sold, not as a vehicle, but as a subscription. So to your core business, you should think about having a complementary digital business. We get to work with a lot of companies, of course, and I've seen companies that, I don't want to name them, but you would not think of these products. These are industrial products that cost 25 crores for one item. Their lifespan is 30 years. And the OEMs are talking about that I don't want to sell this as a product. I want to sell this as a service. So today may not be applicable to all your products today, but sooner or later, you can think of tooling as a service. We are all very familiar with SKF's business model. I am based in Pune. SKF in Pune actually offers rotation as a service. So you can have 2 options, either to buy the ball bearing as your as a capital cost, or you just go ahead and say that this is the production I want to achieve in my shop, and I want to buy these many million rotations. So it is not as far-fetched, and that can become a complementary digital business that again gives you subscription. And for all of that, of course, what you need is you need to be able to have a data infrastructure. So having looked at fairly in a short time, where does the data reside, what is possible with data, let's take a look at a couple of things that what influences our adoption. So the first one is leadership commitment. Some of you are running businesses that you have started up, some of you are running businesses that have been in your family for generations, some of you've joined family businesses, but leadership commitment is absolutely essential. Unless and until, as managers, as leaders of your company, you drive the adoption of data, of digital techniques, it is not going to go further down into your company. Second comes employee buy-in, sorry. So it is very necessary that you invest in training and development programs for your employees to acquire this data. And we are indeed living in great times. A lot of the best skills that your employees need for the future of your companies today don't really require a lot of investment either. A lot of training programs, companies like the one that I represent, and many other companies, they provide a lot of this data training for free. Because as service providers, the biggest challenge we see for our technologies is where are we going to find the talent that is required to use all these digital technologies? And hence, there are a lot of free training programs also available. The third factor that influences digital adoption is customers. I was having a conversation during the break with someone, And your customers will ask you to show when they come to your factories to do assessment of your site, they will ask you to show that are you using a data management system. So there will be certain areas where your customers will dictate that we need to see that you have XYZ or ABC system or certain type of software that you're using so that we feel comfortable doing business with you. From behaviors, let's talk about capabilities. There are certain capabilities also you would need as you chart out your own journey towards digitalization. First one is technology infrastructure. You need to understand that you have to have access to high-speed networks to start with. You know, we are living for the past almost decade and a half, India is living in this great revolution of data becoming available everywhere, becoming cheaper, becoming faster. So the basics, you need to have high-speed access to internet. You need to have the right software, right hardware, and very, very importantly, a very secure IT environment. We saw the Fibro presentation that there are sensors and sensors are communicating to the cloud. The moment you invite the internet into your factories, it becomes even more important that you give a good thought on how are you going to secure your networks. Next comes data analytic capabilities. While these may be IT sounding terms, but we've been doing data analysis, especially in manufacturing. I come from a background in automotive industry. I've spent about 17 years working for automotive OEMs. And I do believe that even when we used to just have boards, manufacturing industry is very adept in analyzing data. That's how we run our business. We run our business by management, by visual aids. We know at what rate we are producing, where are the losses. But it's very important to invest in data analytic capabilities in order for you to have a successful digital journey for your own businesses. The third most important, which comes with all kind of revolutions, like the EV revolution in auto industry, is change management. So it's important that you start to develop or refine the change management abilities that you have. The third comes, what are the enablers for digital adoption? And I'm very glad that the bottom one I'll start with is industry association, and I've been associated with TAGMA for a few years, and I really appreciate how well all the events are organized, how much thought is given into it. In its associations, industry associations, there are many others who play a pivotal role in the businesses at large getting introduced to what are the new technologies, and they are an important pillar for enablers for digital adoption. Of course, there are technology providers. They're everywhere. They want business. Everyone wants to grow their business. Technology providers are there. And fortunately, again, there are a lot of government policies, not just in terms of policies. We are, again, fortunate to be living in these times where there are so many digital initiatives that are coming out of India. So the government is promoting digitalization, also adopting digitalization. We keep seeing God knows how many billions of transactions on UPI. And I don't know next year if someone would have a number, is it going to be in some trillions? Because I think last June it was 600 billion transactions on UPI. But now we're going to be in Singapore, we're going to be in UAE. So we might be talking about trillions of digital transactions. So government policies play a key role, and I think we are very fortunate that we have a lot of supporting policies from the government as well. So what are some of the other factors, right? Some of the other factors, apart from these, for adopting digitalization would be size and complexity. So, of course, the larger companies would have naturally access to more technology, but then it is also your industry. An aerospace industry may have a more focus on documentation and digitalization maybe than a B2B machine tool industry. Thirdly is location, where you're located, not just in the country, within the country, in which cluster you're located. So if you're located, fortunately we are in Bangalore, the Silicon Valley of India. So where you are located will also play a role in how you are able to adopt digitalization. Yeah. So let me come to the next section of my presentation about Google, right? When we talk about Google, probably this is the picture that comes to your mind, a very simple search engine. But being with Google Cloud, that's not what I see now. But when someone says Google, what comes to my mind is this. It's a lot of infrastructure at the back end that is giving you this wonderful, simple experience of going and searching. And back in 1998, that's when Google started, you can imagine there were a couple of people who were saying that we want to index the entire World Wide Web. Now, that's not a very easy task. Back in 1998 also, it was not very easy. That how do you index the entire information on the internet? Questions come about, what kind of database would I use? And you know, if you have to index anything, you cannot index only on one copy. You have to make multiple copies. So if you're going to make multiple copies of all the information that is out there, what kind of file system would you need to use? So data became the core of the strategy at Google, and then the people started building systems that how can I build the requisite hardware so that I can get to that simplistic search experience. And I can almost hear from the crowd, some of you are thinking that, Sachin, we are not here to build Google. We don't want to build a Gmail. We are not going to build a YouTube app. We are manufacturing guys. You know, what has that got to do with what we are doing here? So if you let go of the specifics, you take a step back, even in your own industries, what you have to do is you have to build very secure, reliable, and scalable systems for your growth. You need to be able to build not just for mass production, you need to be able to also build for maybe lot size of 1 tomorrow. And similar principles of security, be looking at information at the core, converting information to data, whether you're a manufacturer, whether you're a bank, whether you're a logistics provider, same principles would apply to you as well. What has brought the company Google to where it is today? You have to be more data-driven. You have to stay ahead of your competition and avoid wasted efforts. A lot of these, I'm not going to read out all of these, but the point I wanted to make is whether it's a manufacturing company or a bank or a service company or a digital company, especially today, having data as the core of your strategy is absolutely essential. It can either be essential with you deliberately exploiting that strategy, or then you would be at the mercy of your competitors who are exploiting data as the core of their strategy and bringing about growth, maybe taking away some of the business that they shouldn't be taking away from you. Yeah. So back in 1998, this is a picture from where Google started. So if this conference was in 1998, probably these guys would come here because they say, hi, I'm an SME and I want to understand what's going on in the world. Yeah. So it all started with the mission of Google was to organize the world information and make it universally accessible to everyone. And that vision today is brought to Google Cloud, which is again what I represent. And Google Cloud today has got 7 cloud products, and each one of them has 1 billion users each. And I'm sure there is at least one or more of these products that you're already using or familiar with, your Android phones, Google Maps, Gmail, YouTube, Chrome, Play Store. So if you think about adopting digitalization, if you've used Gmail, then Google is not a new product for you, even for Industry 4.0. Because the same set of technologies that have made these 7 products of Google Cloud having 1 billion users each, today are available for manufacturers. They're available for SMEs. I got another question over the break that, Google Cloud must be working with all the large manufacturers. And, how does a small manufacturer engage with Google? So that's not true that we just work with large manufacturers. Apart from manufacturing, you all know Google is a favorite company of startups. But if you let go of digital startups, I get a lot of questions from manufacturing companies that I'm required to use a CAD workstation. Hardware is not available, it's expensive. Why do I have to pay for hardware and software for 24 hours a day when I use it only 5 hours a day, when my engineers only use it for design for 5 hours a day. So I have seen people just saying, I want 2 cloud workstations on the cloud. So CAD workstations on the cloud. Or there are people who are saying that I've got heavier designs, my business is growing, I'm developing new parts, I need to put a system in place to get the requirements, do the engineering design. But the supplier says it takes 3 months for hardware to come. I don't have 3 months to wait. And that's where the cloud infrastructure comes in, because cloud infrastructure of that 3 months that you have to wait, it becomes available to you at a cheaper cost, and it can be spun up almost instantly, right? So introducing to you Google Cloud. Google Cloud is not just about the cloud infrastructure or the Gmail that you use. There is Google Workspace, which is used by a lot of teams that need to collaborate, the sales teams, field service teams. There are already several customers in India of all sizes that are using Google Workspace. We've got connected business platforms, we've got app development, infrastructure, your basic storage, security solutions. They are today all available from Google Cloud Platform. Yeah. So I would urge you to not just take a look at Google Cloud, take a look at cloud technology. I will, of course, again talk about Google. So use Google's innovation and technology to deal with your challenges. And I would like to leave you with these 3 items. For some of you, digitalization might be a new topic. But as we all will continue to become more and more digital, security, networking, and infrastructure should be at the top of your mind. And if nothing else, security should be at the top of your mind. We will be connecting a lot of our systems to the internet, and it requires a careful thinking about how to make it secure. You have to unlock data and accelerate your development. The solutions that you use, they should be open and they should be customer friendly as well. Yeah. So thank you very much.